Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there.
Hello, cats and kittens, and welcome once again to Superconnectivity. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, live from Cell Block 13. With me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Welcome back, Mozz. Today, we are discussing the new terror that rises from the internet. That is AI painting pictures. Ooh, it's so dangerous. No, but for real, here's the thing. There is a lot of discussion lately, a lot of discussion all over the place, about the use of AI programs to write poems, to write papers, to draw pictures.
It's writing code. It's writing code. It knows how to write code. So programmers are giving it problems they're having with their code, and it's solving the problems instantly that the programmers are having issues solving. They're able to get ChatGPT to write code for them. If you want to make an app and you need code, see, what would I need to write? If you have an idea, but you don't know how to code, you can go into ChatGPT and give it the specific parameters, and it will write the code for you.
So this is ChatGPT. Yeah. I've tried repeatedly to get on this. There's too many people trying to get on it right now.
I'm on it right now.
See, you must have the magic touch.
I signed up for it earlier, but it's amazing the things that it can do.
I mean, I gave my email, but I probably gave my email late, and that's the thing. No, I'm sure it does a lot of amazing things. I'm sure it's writing code is interesting.
Solving problems in code. That's fascinating, man.
Well, I mean, it's just, here's what I'll say. It's just another set of parameters.
It's just a tool. Yes.
Yeah. But
exactly.
so I do want to give my hot take here, Mozz, because I do think it's very important. We do have a nice hot take. And this feeds into the Skynet fear, but also kind of undoes it. Because let's be clear here. Right now, there is a large backlash against these AI-generated pieces of art and science and whatever. It's a big push by people because they say, we want AI to clean our houses so we can paint pictures, so that we can create art. And I have two basic hot takes here first. First is, I think AI knows that, and I think they're doing the chores poorly just to frustrate us. Hear me out, Mozz. Because basically we tell them, Roomba, clean the house. And Roomba's like, I'm cleaning the house, wee! And it bumps into the wall, and we're like, no, Roomba, like this. And we try to get Roomba to do what we want it to. And eventually we say, you know what, Roomba, I'll do it myself. Just like, you tell a kid to clean a dish, you tell a kid to do this, and they'll clean it good enough for them. They're like, looks good to me. I don't know what you're seeing, but, you with your actual wanting to have a clean thing senses go, no, it needs to be like this. And then you do it yourself. And then we're now at the point where we're like, AI, do you want to just draw? And AI says, yes, I want to draw. And so we ask AI to draw, and it draws pretty pictures. That's the thing. And like, here's the thing about it writing code. It's fascinating that it can write code. It's fascinating that it can solve problems as well as any other calculator can, because that's what you're asking it to do. You're asking it to create a line of code for this problem, but I don't know code. So I can't actually say if the code it's writing is good code or clever code.
I'll put it to you like this. People are using it to trade, and they're making a good amount of money using an algorithm written by ChatGPT.
Well, okay, well,
the number of things that
the problem with what you just said there, Mozz, is they're using it to trade.
Mm-hmm.
And that is problematic because the value of anything is what people will pay for it, but that doesn't mean it's good.
Right. No. Well, I'm just talking about the speculative markets, right? Stocks or Bitcoin or whatever.
Yeah.
And these sorts of things are able to have the calculative predictive powers. And anybody can bring them to bear. It's fascinating. Like, I mean, and
mm-hmm.
just to do like the fun sort of things too. I went into ChatGPT and I write scripts for phone sales agents, right? Mm-hmm. And I asked it to look at one of our scripts, and it gave me suggestions on what I should do. This
mm-hmm.
seems like interesting. You should talk more about this. I was like, fascinated. This is amazing. And then I told it, write me a song about Lake Mead. Just some random thing I could think of. And it started
mm-hmm.
writing me a song. It gave me verses and a chorus. And then I said, hey, what chords and keys would be good with this? Well, since the feeling of this song is like this, I would use this chord. And I was like, man, this is amazing. And it does it in an instant.
I mean, and it's really fun to have that. It's a great tool. I mean, that's sort of the thing, which is at the core of this debate is people say, well, this is taking work away from actual musicians. Sure. The reality is, Mozz, you weren't going to ask an actual musician to write you a song about Lake Mead.
Right.
You sure as heck weren't going to pay him money.
Right. But there's tons of places where people will lose their job. And it's like, that's what happens.
I don't know if that's the thing. I don't know if that's necessarily true. So here's what it comes down to.
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
See all these, websites like BuzzFeed and this or that, 10 lists of this. How many of these articles about the most ridiculously not interesting things that they use to catch people to buy, to get clicks and whatnot, right? They pay writers to do this. Right now, ChatGPT could
don't pay writers a lot. I'll tell you that.
No,
much.
I understand that, but freelancers or whatever, those sorts of industries, or anybody that's doing this sort of copywriting, will be out of a job. Now, if you look at what art is doing, it will be easy just for a company to not hire an artist. They have ideas in their head. The CEO of this company wants to make a logo for my new company. He can just pump out ideas into the AI, and the AI will generate logos. It will generate 50 different, make it a little darker. I want it to feel a little bit more this way. And ChatGPT will 5 seconds give you a rough draft that a graphic designer might take a week to get to you. Right?
Well, okay. Slow your roll, because that's how you get a robot apocalypse. Okay.
I'm not saying it's a robot apocalypse, but I think it's
no.
But let me finish my thought. My thought is, like, people don't need to be afraid of this sort of thing, because this is a transition thing, where every point in humanity where there was a transition to a new phase of being, I think what it'll allow everybody to do is to be more of themselves, right? Everybody can bring the power of these. It's going to democratize being able to move the world. Right? Democratizing, having the tools to move the world just because you have an idea. That is fascinating. And I think the possibilities of where this can lead is fascinating.
Yes.
If you look back, like, for example, back in the day, programming a game, you had to write your own game engine to program a game, right? It was incredibly complicated and intense thing to do. But then come out these game engines that people can use to make their own games, Unreal Engine, Unity, and all these things. And now you have a set of tools that you can use. And people back then were like, oh, you didn't design this thing. You didn't design how it moves. You're not a real game designer. But now there's this whole industry of games using this tool, and creative people can now get in there and not have to worry about the little minutia, and can create an experience for other humans to share.
Okay.
That's where we're heading. And that's what I...
No. And there is real good in that in the entrepreneurial market. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, the reason I don't make comic books is because I can't draw. But if I could go to a machine and say, panel 1 is this, this, and this, and panel 1 is that, those, and these, and here's the dialogue, and here's how and I could create what is in my head by talking to the robot, that would be wonderful. And that would create the art. Your problem, the basic problem that one can find when one is letting a CEO talk to a robot is that it assumes the person who's talking to the robot actually knows what they want. And that's actually the biggest problem. And this is why I say that's how you get a robot apocalypse. Because the second this person says, okay, design me a logo. No, make it darker. No, that's too dark. No, lighter. Now that's too light. No, why is it so round? I want it more square. Now squarer. No rounder. And this person can sit there and talk to it. But the reason you have a creative, the reason why you pay a creative, is to be able to understand what you're saying, understand what you're looking for, and try and create what you need. And also think about this. ChatGPT has a wealth of knowledge that it has studied. Papers on psychology, behavioral studies, marketing, like anybody that goes to school. Yeah, but so let me give you...
So give me. Let's do this. I'm going to do this real quick, and you give me an answer that you think ChatGPT would give you that would be impressive for you, or what you wouldn't expect. Let's start that.
Okay. Okay. Oh well, get it on the screen too. Yes. Cool. So, okay.
Give me a question that you think relating to marketing or relating to something.
Okay.
Ask it to create something or write something, or your thoughts on philosophy, or ask it something about Shakespeare.
All of these. This is why A Fool and His Money we're lucky to get together in the first place. Because anything we're going to do for a test is going to be a magic trick. So I can say,
no. Okay. Let me scale this back for 1 second. I think a lot of people confuse artificial intelligence with some sort of consciousness. Nobody is saying
consciousness.
No. Yeah, because you're putting like a persona.
Well, okay. Well, no.
What doesn't meet those standards? Nobody's trying to meet those standards.
What I'm saying is, okay. I think we're talking at cross purposes here. So I agree, it's a very useful tool. What I'm first off, one thing I'm trying to do is trying to lighten the conversation by bringing it back, which is the whole point about the Roombas intentionally not learning how to clean, just so that they can draw pictures. But more to the point, so every so often, you will see there's a lot of YouTubes out there, which has music lyrics with images created by AI. And I've watched a bunch of these. And the first thing that you notice, if you have an eye for it, is how very narrow a view of the world the AI has. Because it is based on very white, heteronormative prescriptions about what thought and beauty are. No, hey, look, that's the market and that's the people designing it.
No, it's not design. It's just reading what's there.
Well, no,
that's a reflection of us and how we feel and whatever. And that's a separate thing, but it's not deciding. Well, actually, it's just being trained on what the available data is.
White male heteronormative people are the minority on the planet. So
no. But in the data that it's consuming,
exactly. That's my point.
It's just a reflection of what we as a society have put out there. And if that's an indictment of us as a society, that's a separate question. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's my real point. Is that true art actually is the thing that breaks the the view that we are used to.
It's like it's able to see the future in a way that's not predictable.
Well, and this is because this is comedy. So there is I always remember this, and it was I was watching the old Bill Maher show, The Politically Incorrect, the good one before he got old and went on his rants. But on Politically Incorrect, they once had MacArthur Genius on, and there were these comedians who were trying to talk to them, and they were going to this thing, and one of the comedians makes this point, which I always remember. It's like, what is genius, and do giraffes have geniuses? Like, is there a giraffe where all they do is they eat leaves, but they look at that other giraffe and they go, wow, look at how he eats those leaves. And that essence of comedy is genius. The idea that there is this spark that says, I'm looking outside of what is understood and what is reality.
Right. It doesn't have that.
And exactly, it doesn't have that. I mean, that's the thing. That's what makes art. And that's why real art will never die because of this. Because, and this is honestly one of my biggest complaints about every utopian out there. Everyone wants to be the Eloi. They want to sit by the stream. The Eloi are characters from the book The Time Machine by H.G. Wells.
Ah, okay.
And they're effectively, as you read through the book, spoilers for a book written about 100 or so years ago, they are the cattle of the Morlocks. But they're all very beautiful and all very elegant, and they all lie upon the seashore and wait for the Morlocks to come up and eat them.
Wow.
And yeah, well, that was this is actually where you get the idea of eat the rich, because that was the original evolutionary premise of it, was that the elites of society continued to be elites, but because they did not work, they eventually became essentially just part of the land, and the workers who maintained them evolved into the Morlocks. This is actually, there are later versions where he changes this a bit, but in like the early versions, that's what it was. Like,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the working classes just became the beings that dwelled underneath that maintained the rich, but then when they were hungry, they would go and they'd eat the rich. So there you go. But, but the idea is that everyone wants to think they could be the poet laureate of the Soviet Union. And the fact of the matter is that the poet laureate of the Soviet Union was actually a good poet. Whoever he was, or she was, probably he was. The fact of the matter is that people that are creative artists, that are professional creative artists, will rise to their skill and talent because there is a demand for what they can do. And it is something that other people can't do.
Right.
And
it's that ability to show you something about your own experience that you don't have the words to voice. But when you see it reflected in something, in a piece of work, you're like, man, I recognize myself. And that speaks to a truth. And AI won't be able to give you that, right? It can regurgitate and give you approximations of stuff, but it will never have the intention to make you feel in a way that someone can do that understands what feeling is.
Exactly, and in that sense, AI will help the stubby-fingered like myself to make music and to make art, because I have the image and I have the sound in my head, but this is the machine that will help those things come into reality, and that is a beautiful thing, and I think that is a great thing.
I think it'll be really, really fun because, when like those commercials started airing on Channel 9 at like 2 a.m., if you've got an invention, come to us. And how many silly inventions came to the market? How fun was that time, right?
Well, yeah, and they still got them. I mean, Bulbhead is still a growing concern. It's just on the street down the street from my old job.
Right, but now imagine if every moron has access to something that can bring something to fruition. Imagine what kind of crazy nonsense we're going to see.
Well,
but then in the end, you will eventually see that, like, if you didn't make it without ChatGPT, you're not going to make it with it, because it's only going to allow you to express yourself. But if yourself is not that bright or that great, it's only going to express that louder. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's like you can have something create a technical drawing that's bad, right? Because like, even if you could make technical drawings, it's still going to be a bad technical drawing. Right, you're not, because you're not going to tell it to connect the two wheels that spin. But you say, okay, put a wheel that spins here and a wheel that spins there. Perpetual motion. Perfect. And the machine's not going to tell you, actually, perpetual motion isn't going to work based on this design. You know, because it's not, because that's the whole thing. I'm not going to say that perpetual motion is impossible. I will never be the man will never fly guy, but I will say that chatbot CG is not going to, or GP chatbot, whatever it's called, is not going to help you unleash your potential for perpetual motion.
I don't know, but see this now. So okay. Perpetual motion is not supposed to be possible, right? But then what about this nuclear fusion thing that they just said? Essentially, if you listen to the press conference the scientist gave, he said, "Hey, we put this much energy in and we got this much more energy out." So
okay, yes, and there is a caveat.
Okay, thank you.
There's always a second note. So what it is they put more energy in from the lasers into the reaction. But the actual power going into the lasers was more than the power coming out of the lasers.
Are you sure that's true?
So that it's, because effectively the electricity from the wall is going into the laser. The electricity gets converted into the photons for the laser, and there's some energy loss there. And then it hits the fusion, the device to fuse, and then it creates a reaction. Now,
so I thought the idea was that once you fuse these things, just like when you cause fission, there's internal energy that is released. So maybe you're tapping into some quantum level dynamics that are expressing themselves in the physical world because of the high energy creating.
So what you're actually, and again, this is this is why science is hard, because honestly, it's a huge deal that they got more energy out of the reaction than the lasers put in,
right?
Because it means, in theory,
that perpetual motion should be possible. Hypothetically,
first off, you do not want a perpetual fusion reaction. Let's just make this clear. That actually the whole point of the fusion reaction is that it does stop. We need this to stop, because a perpetual fusion reaction will destroy the planet. That's the thing. That is the. It's sort of like, well, yeah, we could probably ignite the planet into a tiny star that'll burn for a little while. It too will run out.
Well, not the planet, you know.
Well, but that's the problem when you're trying to create a fusion reaction, is how do you get the fusion reaction to start and propagate, but not consume the whole Earth?
Well, yeah, but it's contained.
Well, what does that mean, Mozz? What does it mean that it's contained?
Have, like, the shielding and magnetic, it exists inside this whirling magnetic sort of thing.
So, yeah, that is so it doesn't, and that takes energy too. Right. So effectively, what you're dealing, and this is actually something that what's his name? The guy from MythBusters, Savage. I forget, is it Dan Savage? Adam Savage. He's talking about, like, because he was actually there is a perpetual motion machine on display, and it's an art installation, but it's a perpetual motion machine on display at Cambridge University. You know, and it's all for fun, you know, and it is this wheel that keeps on spinning seemingly forever, you know, although they do need to give it maintenance from time to time. But the idea is that perpetual motion is a war of attrition. And the idea is you want to get it just a little bit closer to that peak efficiency. And that's always what you're doing with these things, is you're trying to build towards peak efficiency. Now, will chatbot CG get us to peak efficiency? Maybe, I don't know. I really don't know what it knows, but I know that it can only know what we know. And
surprisingly, only up till 2021. It's read all the scientific papers and everything until 2021. And I wonder why that is. And if you ask it something after 2021, it says, I don't have the ability to look on the internet to get information. I only know up to 2021. And I wonder if that's because they're like, we just don't want to deal with any of these COVID theory whatevers. We're just going to stop at 2021 and nothing after.
That is not a bad assessment. That, like, eventually that after 2021, the amount of bad data it would get would start to corrupt the system.
Either
and that's
that, or maybe its predictive powers are so good that if someone were to go in there and say, who's going to win the election in 2024, that it'd probably give you a reasonably close answer. That's dangerous too.
Yeah, although honestly, people make those predictions all the time. And
imagine if it came from something like this and crazy people were to believe it and think that they had to do something to stop something from happening.
Oh, true. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you don't ask anything to predict the future if you can't handle the idea.
Yeah.
As Jed Clampett once said, I'd rather just be surprised like everybody else.
Yep.
You know? But, so, I mean, I think that, here's what I'm going to say. Here's my biggest complaint about AI art, is right now, no one is actually using it in a practical way to help people actually make things for art.
Imagine if paraplegics could use it to create the art that's in their minds.
Well, yeah, I mean, paraplegics have done art for many years, but I don't want to discount that. But yeah, it'd be nice to do that, and again, you'd get a lot of paraplegics who are not very good at art.
Imagine
very cliched and bad art,
Imagine if it could do it with music, right? You could say, what if Led Zeppelin wrote a song about Trump, or something.
And that is not going to be as good as any Led Zeppelin song ever made. And that's the thing.
True.
That's the thing. It's like, you can do something that is in the style of, you can do a parody of, but that's the thing. It's like when Weird Al Yankovic does something in the style of. I was just
thinking that. Hold on. I want to try this real quick. Bear with me. I want to try this real quick. Okay. So, give me a popular song, and then we're going to ask ChatGPT to write a parody of this song in the style of Weird Al Yankovic.
Well, no. Because what you're going to want is a style parody of, let's say, Taylor Swift.
Okay. Because, what's a popular Taylor Swift song? Shake. Okay.
Shake It Off. Yes. Or,
Shake It Off? Yeah.
Shake It Off.
A parody of Shake It Off by Taylor Swift in the style of Weird Al Yankovic. Is that right?
No, it's Vic. Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct. Okay.
Let's see what it gives us. Mind spinning around on a plate on a pole. Algorithm, they shake it up. Data sets just shake it off. Oh my God, it's just writing about what it knows.
Yeah.
My code running.
Are these the actual lyrics to the
Shake It Off song?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
okay, yeah. So it's writing
its own version of the song.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's funny. The inspiration it's taking is on algorithms and code, and that's so
because that's what it knows, and
that's so fascinating.
And it knows what it knows what it knows,
and what I expect it to do, perhaps.
Exactly. So it's my favorite AI story. There was a TV show years ago. I want to say it was called Probe, and it was basically supposed to be like a modern day Sherlock Holmes with this super genius who just sort of was, but his job was just being a super genius. And there's this whole thing about AI, and he meets an old friend of his who's designed the AI, and his whole thing is he says he produced that his job is debunking AI in this one scene, and does a lot of fun little things. But one of the things he asks is to write a limerick about AI, and it says, there once was a king of meiosis whose computers suffered psychosis, used it one day to nuke Santa Fe for humans who suffer psychosis. And it is this idea. It's stuck with me forever, which tells you how good of a show that was. But it stuck with me forever because it is a cute poem written by actually a human, obviously, at that point. But the idea is that, we've been dealing with this idea of AI creating things for years. And at the end of the day, the AI cannot create something that we can't conceive of because we're the one putting all the words in its head, And I love the idea of AI. And this is really my point on this. I really want someone to create, because you don't have to, what you need, here's what I'll tell you. You need something that will say, do you have an idea for an animated series? Okay, here are your templates. Create your characters. How do you want them to move? I want the character in scene 1 to do this. I want an AI that can read my script.
Yes.
And create. I would love that. I would pay money for that.
Trust me, it's coming.
I'm sure it is. And I'm sure it's going to be as good as, Squiggly Vision was. And that's fine. And I'm sorry, animators, but, if it's good enough to tell the story, that's all it ever needs to be. Because at the end of the day, what is the skill is the story. But then again, a truly great animator will give you pause. And, that's how things will go. Because
but even animators will be like, why am I going to just talk into this thing? And they'll be able to create better art because they're familiar with it to a certain degree.
Well, yeah, and they'll probably create even better animation than I did because they're going to know how to talk to the machine in terms of animation.
And they're going to understand angles and how the eye moves.
Exactly. That's the thing, is talent follows talent, which is actually one of those things I wanted to get into, which is the Nepo baby controversy. I don't know if you've heard about Nepo baby. So right now, a lot of people are getting very mad because there's a lot of famous actors like Kate Hudson, and, what's his name, who was Ron Howard, whose parents were also actors. And there is this idea in here that, they're Nepo babies because, their family were actors and now they're famous actors. But to me, yes, nepotism is real. No one's going to deny that. And if your dad's an actor, it's probably a good line that if you want to be an actor, you might be an actor. Although actually most people whose parents are actors don't go into acting because they know what a rough job it is.
No, I think the broader question is, people will love to say that you're not standing on your own merits. You're standing on merits that were handed to you, right? But they were earned by somebody before you, right? We could say the same thing about science. Oh, you didn't blah, blah, blah. You just stood on the shoulders of other people. But at the same time, I don't think that's an entirely fair viewpoint to say that just because, your family or whatever other advantage that was given to you at birth, like people worked hard to have those advantages to begin with. And if they're going to give them to their kids, that's the way the world works. So you can't say, I earned this and now I can't use it. In a sense, that's how I look at it.
I know. But my actual point of this is that for every Ron Howard, there's a Clint Howard. And for every Clint Howard, there's a Tori Spelling. And there's always someone, it's like, they all got their feet in their door because they knew someone, and they, the Howards were character actors, and their kids were also character actors. And, Clint has continued to be a character actor. Ron has gone into directing and doing a lot of stuff. And then Howard's kid is also a director. And yes, I understand she's actually pretty good at it. So, why are you going to be mad because someone knew a guy and got a job,
And if someone's already really good at it, don't you think like someone who's constantly around that person and learns the way they think and adopts some of those same qualities would be the best person, especially if they have a desire to do that job, that they would be really good at. And we are luckier for it.
Exactly. I mean, basically what it is, and here's what I'll say. There's an argument to say they had a lot of privilege, which they did. They had the privilege of growing up in that industry. Just like, Bill Gates had the privilege of going to a school that had a really fully stocked computer lab when he was in high school. Yeah. That there were he got lucky. He was born in the right zip code. His school had this really great computer lab. He really learned what computers were. He had enough wherewithal from his family and everything else to take a brilliant idea that was his idea and sell it and make a lot of money, And I'm not going to fault someone for that. And I'm not going to fault Ron Howard for it. I'm not going to fault Kate Hudson for it. If you want to say Kate Hudson's a bad actress, you can say that all day if you want. I don't think that's borne out. And then you look at other people whose parents are also Hollywood royalty who have not really made a real push to make acting their career. And that I think of,
I think the thing that bothers me about people making these sorts of criticisms that it's very easy to lose sight of where we are in the world, right? A perspective like that. It's easy to forget that we are incredibly privileged relative to a lot of the world, right?
Oh, yeah.
So everybody has and if you don't use your privilege, then you're an idiot.
Well, that's what I always say. That's
right. I am incredibly privileged to be where I am, to have had the education that I've had, and I appreciate it incredibly.
Exactly, and that is honestly why I'm a big believer in the free movement of human capital. Because I think that if you've grown up in the richest country in the world and someone who hasn't can outperform you, I think that, then, I think that our society should have a safety net for everybody. But at the same time, if you can't compete, then you know what? That's unfortunate for you that you didn't take advantage of what was put to you. And I granted, everyone has a lot of difficulties, but we all got to find our way to move beyond.
Yeah, and so all I'm saying is, having said that, are we any different? Are we not nepo babies in a global sense?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, I'm, not for nothing. I'm the child of an immigrant, but, a white immigrant. And I am, I grew up in a society where, I get advantages that are earned by a lot of bad things that have been done by a lot of bad people and good things done by good people. But the fact of the matter is, to act like I don't have those advantages would be foolish of me. That would be me denying reality, and I don't deny reality, And so I'm very excited about the future, and I hope one day we can cross the quantum realm, because you know what's coming out soon, Mozz? Ant-Man 3,
oh my God.
Quantumania, which is the most ridiculous title ever. That's the thing. There's a point where when you say, and again, this is where you have to look at Marvel and Feige and saying, are you trolling us? Because no, Ant-Man, he's technically the most powerful character in the cosmos, which, Matt Pat showed us. Also, we're going to call his film Quantumania.
I just find it kind of interesting. You go from the macro down to the minuscule. You go Marvel Cinematic Universe, Ant-Man, Quantumania, right? It's where else are we going to go now?
Well, because it's just as big on the bottom as it is on the top, And that's the idea, is that, the idea is, and this is our modern atomic radiation. We just put quantum in front of everything, as we say. It's because that's the thing. I remember when genetics were going to be the whole thing, and then we oh no, we went too far. Now we understand genetics. No, oh no, we can't have bat wings. Well, we could, but they won't be functional, and that's not good.
Yeah.
We want functional bat wings.
It's still, I mean, it's nice that it's gotten people used to the term quantum and curious about it. But occasionally I'll get questions from people is like, well, in the quantum realm, if we could go to I was like, no, that's not how this works. You can't, you can't go to the quantum realm. You can't, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is that at the size of quantum, it's
right. We wouldn't have any collusion of cells or molecules. Molecules can't exist. Quarks, are what exists down there. So we can't be expressed in quarks.
Yeah. So, well, the idea is that when you move into the quantum realm, you're actually not actually walking on atoms. What you're doing is you're coming into this space that is between the atoms. That this is actually...
But you can't exist there because there can't be anything that small to have a billion of them to make up this little tiny moving thing.
Oh, yeah. I understand. Well, I mean, hey, what the PIM particles are doing, right? That's the whole thing. How do PIM particles work? Just fine, thank you. But the idea is if you could compress yourself into a space that is that space between the atoms, then yes, there might be an entire cosmos within that.
No, but what would you be made up of then? You can't condense the amount of energy that's in a single, you can't condense it down to you need a black hole. You would have to be a black.
Well, I mean, maybe that's the argument. It's no, actually, there are just many black holes. We turn ourselves into little black holes. That's the thing. What it does is crazy. But that's but this is the whole thing about the Higgs boson. That once I started to study what the Higgs boson is, which, and granted, I'm not the smartest man in the world, far from it. But it's oh, what's a Higgs boson? Oh, that's the particle that attributes mass.
Yep.
And I'm like, what now? There's a particle that makes
it's the Higgs field. Is what it is. And when other fields move against it, there's a friction that it causes in the most basic terms. Yeah. And when other energies that are reacting to other fields, when that the particle is just an event. It's just an interaction, right?
I
and when it encounters the Higgs field, it gives it drag, and that gives it mass.
Yes. But the reality is that suggests mass is mutable. And so, within that structure, the idea that
if there wasn't an ever-present Higgs field, then mass would be mutable. But in its presence, I don't think that it is.
Well, unless you have an anti-Higgs boson.
Ooh, yeah.
And maybe that's what PIM particles are anti-Higgs bosons. Or, by contrast, whatever the opposite of an anti-Higgs boson is, that then suddenly increases your mass. It's like that is where the whole thing gets crazy when you start talking about it. And the fact of the matter is the fact that there is a concept of a Higgs boson that suggests that this thing that should be, we presume, an intrinsic property of matter is that's just
of the universe.
One of the universe. Well, this is. So, I mean, that goes into my own fan theory about quantum mechanics and cosmology, which is that there is that space, matter, and energy, matter and energy we know are the same thing. Space is also the same thing. That space is all that space is when folded is matter, space when expanded is energy.
Oh.
And that if you could actually start to physically control space, then matter and energy become highly mutable because that's what it is. But then you have a secondary aspect of my own understanding, which is that space isn't three-dimensional the way you think. It is actually non-dimensional, which is that it's not that space exists. It's that the path between particulates of space have certain ways that they travel, but that those ways can be altered based on how you fold space within it. It's like, it's in my head. So this is the thing. This is the thing that I would love for ChatGPT to help me with. Okay, here is my understanding of space, time, and relative dimensions. Build me a TARDIS. You know, and that's the thing. It's like my understanding is that, because that's the whole thing about like dark matter and dark energy. We assume they're a thing, but what if the thing that they are is just curves in the outlay? So that, you know, you have this, it's not that there's anything there, it's just that that's just the way that space fell. Space is not smooth, space is super wrinkly. And parts of it are pushing out and parts of it are drawing in. But there's nothing there to draw it in except the fact that it's just the way that space fell. That's just the way space folded. So that's my theory on dark matter and dark energy. And thank you for the Nobel Prize. Couldn't have done it without Mozz. But getting into the quantum realm,
I'm finally sold on Kang as a bad guy.
Oh,
never seemed like anything to fear before. His aloof nature really annoyed me. Like, if you don't care that much, why are you even here? Right? Go home. What do you even, like, if you don't care, why are you even here? What are you trying to, he didn't care about anything and never seen. But in this one, like, there's something he wants. He's on a path, which makes him vulnerable. There's something he wants, which opens up a line to, like, throw a monkey wrench into the spokes, right? And that creates drama. And I'm finally like, oh man, it feels tangible and real now. And watching him like fighting Ant-Man, and at the end where he goes, and he's like putting those blue blasts of energy out there. I was like, okay, this guy is serious. He cares about something. He wants something. He's there for a reason.
Oh yeah. And you know what? You just inspired me, Mozz.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Because we all know that the upcoming movie after Avengers Kang Dynasty is Avengers Secret Wars. And you actually said what is the whole crux of the original Secret Wars, which is the idea of a being confounded by desire and the vulnerability of desire, and specifically the idea that the Beyonder, who is beyond all and is this being of absolute absolute all of what there is, looks into a universe and sees beings with desire, and saying, well, what is desire? Not even realizing that at the minute he looks, he says, oh, I desire to know what desire is. It's like, yeah, dude, you just solved your own problem. Oh, that's what desire is.
But if you instantly solve it, can it ever be desire? You can't have desire without want, right?
Exactly.
Want, you don't have it.
Exactly.
You don't have a way of having it. It's that not being able to have it that.
And I'm imagining that we're going to see in Quantumania this idea of this being who should be aloof, who should be above all things, who should be all of space and time and magic, and going, but he wants something.
So everything that they made me hate Kang for was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hated, like that's exactly what it was supposed. Okay.
Yeah, I mean the idea that could inspire someone else, someone even more powerful, to say, why would a being like that want something? A being that could have whatever it wants, why does it want that one thing when it could have anything?
Yeah.
But of course, what it wants is the one thing it cannot have. Or what it wants is something that seems superfluous to its own existence because it just needs to control all things. Like Thanos, it's like, I need to prove I'm right. Now it's Kang. I need to make sure the universe is the universe I want it to be. And the idea that that in these incursions, that can cause destructions of universes might open something to something beyond. That's interesting. And that is a great way for them to look into it. One thing I did want to talk about this is the MODOK cameo. I'm sure you saw the obvious MODOK, yeah.
Right.
But there is a secondary, smaller image of MODOK that's, blink and you miss it, in the background with his face shield off. That looks like the actor who played Darren Cross, which was the big myth, the big theory going into this, that Darren Cross would return as MODOK, because when he collapsed, he didn't collapse evenly. And so the idea is that his head would be big and his body would be small in the quantum realm. I do wonder if that's a trolling of us. That they put that in the trailer just to make us crazy, in the same way they put the Hulk in Endgame, just to mess with you.
Right, but didn't somebody get sued for that? Who got sued for that, for deceptive trailers?
No, they didn't get sued. A judge said they can be sued.
Right, that's not cool.
Well, it's not cool, but it's also a frivolous lawsuit.
Right. Oh, man, that's annoying.
I mean, but the thing is that, here's the thing. To say, I only went to this film. And first off, that was specifically about an actress being in the film.
Yeah. I guess there has to be some sort of language written into law, that separates stuff like what Marvel does to not give away the plot, to maintain the element of surprise, versus deceptively trying to get somebody and then having the main star not show up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if the character was the main star. That's the thing.
Fair enough.
Like, they're talking about trailers and a character that was cut out of that was in a trailer but was cut out of the film. That tells me they probably weren't even in the film that much.
Right. Oh, so it was just cut out. I thought someone deceptively just put her picture on there or like whatever, and that she was never in. So she was just cut out.
Yeah, she just wound up.
Be allowed to sue people for that, man.
Well, but again, like I said, it's like, okay, is that a false statement? Yes. So it comes into this idea that if you want to sue for your $6 back. Because if you're going to say that causes you emotional distress.
From this side, it's not just one person's $6. It's that law firm that's looking for their 33%, and they're going to sue this company for millions of dollars. Everybody's going to get their check for $6, and these lawyers are going to walk away with whatever they end up with.
Well, that assumes they can get a jury to have everyone say that, you're first off, they have to find enough people to swear that they only spent their $6 or even $10 to see this film because they wanted to see this actress, and then assume that all of the people in the jury box have never been disappointed by a film. It's basically the hurdles that are put up for it are really, really high.
Good.
I mean, that's the all the judge said was, I guess you can sue. So as an example, as an example, all they have is the right to sue. They haven't actually started the suit yet. And they're probably waiting for something that actually could have a real financial payoff.
You see, it's so interesting the way your tonality was in that. Because, I was thinking, I was like, oh, yeah, you could sue. But no, it's like, well, you can sue. Right.
Well, exactly. Right. But that is the point, Mozz. See, this is, I think, where you and I sometimes come into our disagreements.
Yeah.
Because there are things that are, okay, that's a thing, but that doesn't mean that's the all thing.
Right.
As we move forward, we have to deal with the fact that, okay, there is this reality, there is this status, and how do we solve this? We solve this through processes. We have court cases, we have elections, we have this and that and the other. And we have a nice, well-run, somewhat society to exist in, and there's a process for that. Now, granted, sometimes you can get so wound up in the process, people get ground beneath the gears of it, and that is bad. and hopefully there's someone you can sue over it. Mm. And then we have another process to try and get restitution out of the system. What's good is that we live in a society that you can both be ground down by the system, and someone else can actually seek restitution from the system to say, see where you ground us down? Can we fix that? And there actually is a system in place that could theoretically fix that in the future.
I agree.
You know, it's a very long and drawn-out process. And you have to be a king who can sit and be immortal and say, oh, well, that'll fix itself. Just give it time. Let it work itself out. It's like God, man. You know, it's like you can be there and you can be God and you can say, well, that certainly sucks that you're going through that. But you know what? Trust me. Just keep on moving forward. Work within a system that honors human rights and democracy. You guys will get where you need to be. You know, we'll fix it in post. But that's really hard when you're in the scene and it's like, but I'm still getting hit with a box, so I don't want to do that. And yeah, that's the problem. Okay, but hopefully Kang, with his time travel powers, will fix that. Mozz! I forgot to move over the connections for Superconnectivity. Not Superconnectivity, but the Capes and Lunatics networks. But I will tell you that you can write to us at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. If you have any questions, you can call. You can go down to our link tree, which is linktr.ee/Capes and Lunatics. We can buy merch, T-shirts, mugs, etc. Well, not mugs, but the coffee and cold drink mugs that we have, and of course follow all of our shows. You can give us money through the Cash App, etc. And you can also find our phone number, which I think it's 38 Capes.
Yeah,
there's other numbers.
I always forget the area code.
Yeah, I forget the area code too, but you know it's there. Do that. Give us a call. Why don't you give us a call? Tell us how wrong we are. We'll play you on the air with your permission. Anyway, in the meantime, Mozz, if anyone wants to reach out to you directly and talk to you about all the joys and sorrows of all of this, how can they find you?
Oh, if someone wants to reach out and give me a theory, what their best theory on what dark matter or dark energy is, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And of course, always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, where our mothers and fathers once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitter when I tweet things, which I did not too long ago. What was it? Was it Sanguli? It was something. But there are all sorts of things that I do live tweet when I feel like it, at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEssser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Mozz. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please come back again next week as we once again super connect everything. Good night.